Hey everybody, NWA Prepper here. So I want to talk a little bit about CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It's a great skill. It's one that you need to go to class for, you need to learn. Everyone should have CPR training. And I mean everyone from little kids. Probably the youngest kid kid, whatever, that I've ever taught CPR to was about 6. Their compression strength, of course, they're 6 years old. They're not going to be able to do compressions. But that doesn't mean they're not capable of doing something, learning the skills, particularly in accessing 911 and or even giving direction to an adult. But certainly, I think it should be taught in high schools and middle schools even. And I think every adult should have CPR training. Because CPR saves lives. Hands down, every day, CPR will save a life. That being said, and I have a CPR mask right here. It doesn't live on my keys because I'm kind of a minimalist with my keys. And that's really big. I had a littler one that was folded up about like that. But I gave it to someone from NWA Defense. Anyway, so I have that in my trauma kit. I have a pocket mask in my first aid kit. I have a bag valve mask. CPR is important. It's wonderful. It saves lives. You need to learn it. You need to be prepared to do that. So to do that, you need pocket masks or micro shields. I have a favorite one that I like, but that's neither here nor there. What I want to talk to you about is, when do we not do CPR? Let me rephrase that. When am I not going to do CPR? Because there are times today, in normal everyday life, I'm going to do CPR anytime someone needs CPR. What I'm talking about is post-balloon going up, the end of the world as we know it, no rule of law, that time. Particularly in the cases of trauma. Mostly trauma. Any CPR needs definitive care, which means if you're doing CPR, and I do CPR not every day anymore. Our call volume's down, but I'm in emergency services, so I get to see CPR and I get to help and I get to do and all those things, and it's wonderful. In a disaster, and I'm not talking about right here where I'm at, this little block gets hit by a tornado disaster and an ambulance is coming. I'm talking when there is not an ambulance coming. Guaranteed. There is no EMS anymore, emergency medical services. And there's no place to take them if you pick them up. Mass casualty incidents in the triage system, first responders are taught right now that you don't do CPR in a mass casualty or during triage, which triage is a word, I believe, I don't remember what language I think it's Latin, but triage means to sort. You do triage, you're going through and you're going, okay, this guy can walk. Here, go out here, stand by that tree. That's where we're going to take care of you. This person has breathing difficulty. This person has severe bleeding. And you put them in priority of immediate, immediate, delayed. Triage is a whole thing. You're sorting the wounded. You're making decisions on, can this person walk out walking wounded? Are they delayed, meaning they just have a broken leg, they can sit here till we get to them? Are they immediate, where, hey, this person's bleeding really bad, they need help right now? Or this person having breathing difficulty, where if we don't do something right now, they're going to die. Black, I guess black is deceased. Green is delayed. Yellow is immediate. And red is urgent. That's not right, but it's close. Those colors are right. And anyway, so while you're doing triage, they teach first responders that you don't do CPR in that type of a disaster. You open the airway. You possibly insert an airway adjunct, which is a nasal pharyngeal airway or an oral airway. They're about that long. They're not intubation tubes. You really just put them in and spin them, and they hold the tongue off the back of the throat, or they bypass it so air can go in and out. You try that, give them a couple breaths, see if that's working, and roll on. And hopefully that opening their airway and putting in the airway adjunct makes everything better. If not, other people will do other skills to support life. But during triage, you're just going around and you're putting triage tags or these big square tickets on people with the criteria that you can go to class and learn that teaches you, what category they fall into. But during that, they don't do CPR because you're trying to do the most good for the most number of people. And in a mass casualty incident, there's more people there, more injuries there than you can handle. If one ambulance pulls on scene and a busload of hemophiliac nuns crashes into a glass truck, there's going to be some overwhelming of the system. That paramedic and that EMT are certainly not going to be able to take care of the situation. They've got to start getting everyone prioritized so the next coming in ambulance or first responders can help, know what to do, who comes first. And it's the same thing in a post-Tijuana emergency. Is if I'm in the middle of a fight, I'm not doing CPR. If we're in the middle of a disaster, because disasters are going to happen even after there are no governments or there are zombies everywhere, we're still going to have fires, we're still going to have earthquakes, we're still going to have tornadoes and house fires and floods. All those things are still going to happen. They're just going to be less mitigated because there'll be no existing emergency services to help mitigate those situations. So in those situations, I'm not doing CPR. It's not because I want someone to die. And if there is time, if we're not in a critical situation, if we're not surrounded by danger, then absolutely, I'm going to do CPR as long as I can, as best as I can, to the best of my ability. I'm going to get people to help me, and hopefully CPR is enough, or defibrillation if you have an AED handy. Those have long battery lives, and they're everywhere. So post that situation, you may have one, or you may have one now, or access to one. So I'm not saying I'm not going to do CPR on anyone. I'm saying if there are dangers around me, my first job is to remove the wounded that I can get moved and protect myself. I am the most important person in any emergency, because then I can help others. And if I use all my resources, if I walk into a collapsed building and there are people everywhere, hurt and injured people everywhere, and I stop because this person's not breathing and they need CPR, and opening the airway and inserting an adjunct doesn't work, and I'm doing CPR on this person that if they need CPR, their odds of survival are low to begin with. 20 feet away, there may be a patient who has a breathing issue that can be fixed by opening the airway, or they have bleeding, or they have, they're going into shock, or there's something that I can do something about instantly, right away, quickly, and save their life. But I've stopped here at patient number 1 that needs CPR, that wasn't breathing and didn't have a pulse. And then all of a sudden over here was a viable patient that now has bled out and is going to die. And this person was already dead to begin with, basically. It's complicated. And it's a hard decision. And it's not one that's easy to swallow. Regrets come with that decision. What if I'd done more than 2 breaths? What if I'd done a few compressions? What if this, or what if that, or what if I'd had, this or this tool, or what if I just tried a little bit harder before I moved on to the next patient? You regret that. Even if the next 5 patients were bleeding patients that you got to and you put on a tourniquet or a pressure dressing and it stopped what was wrong with them. You saved their life. Guaranteed, hands down. You plugged a hole, you stopped the leaking, they're going to live. And they wouldn't have had you done CPR on someone who is statistically already gone. Now, my father was a CPR save. I believe in them. I see them often. Not often. I see them sometimes. And my emergency service that I work with, which is actually right over there is their home office, has a really good ROSC, or return to act. They have a return to their pulse and breathing on their own. They have really good rates, higher than the national average, which is not that high. I don't know. It's something you got to think about. Are you ready to get trained, to learn more, to be able to do more, to have better capabilities? But at the same time, with those capabilities come, are you willing to make some hard decisions when the time comes? First aid during an emergency is more than just slapping a Band-Aid on. It's more than having a kit. It's even more than knowing how to use the stuff in your kit. It's a continual gain of knowledge, and sometimes you have to make hard mistakes or hard decisions. And you're going to make mistakes too. And it sucks. It sucks. Nowhere, no time does somebody want to make a mistake about doing someone healthcare or first aid. They don't want to do that. I don't. I lose sleep over it. Did I make the right decision? What tomorrow? Tomorrow's call. When I get to this sick person, how am I going to handle it? What is my partner going to want to do? What if their IV doesn't hold? Or what if their airway is failing? Or what if? And that's good to think about. That's good to take those what ifs and turn them into challenges and go get a higher level of training. So go get your CPR. Go get your basic first aid. Go get your first aid for a professional rescuer. Your first responder. I'd love it if everyone went and got their EMT or their paramedic. EMT is very doable for everyone. Paramedic is a little more involved. You can do it. You can be ready for tough decisions. You can be ready for decisions that you'll have to make in a disaster. And the best way to get ready for that is to get trained. Get trained, Get comfortable with the skills, practice them whenever you can, and you'll be ready. Because that's what it's all about. You want to be ready for emergencies and disasters, or you wouldn't be watching this channel. And many others. There are some great practical skills channels that are out there. And even my opinion, and I started this by going, this is my opinion on this subject, makes me nervous. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical attorney or a medical advisor or any of that. I'm just a guy that knows some first aid and done a little bit of it. So what do you think? Are you ready to work a code? Are you ready to do CPR? And what's your thoughts about in a mass casualty? Are you going to be able to do the most good for the most number of people? I hope so. Let's get ready.